Hey everybody, John Granato from The Bench. Mornings on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5, and that's AJ Hoffman. He's from The Blitz. That's afternoons on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Hit subscribe right now so that you can get all of our Sports Map HOU content. It's great stuff. Let's talk some Texans football. AJ, we got the schedule out.
Yay!
Not surprisingly, the Texans got the minimum number of nationally televised games and the maximum number of noon games. So the league really wants to pound those Texans home to the public, that's for sure. Fox Bets has their win total at 4.5 wins for the Houston Texans this year. You taking under or over?
Under. I said this when it was 5.5 after the season, and I said I just don't see a way that happens. Deshaun had such a phenomenal season last year, and they were able to win 4 football games. They've done nothing in the offseason to really improve anything. Some of the very few players that they did have that you would consider above average players, J.J. Watt, Will Fuller, they're gone, and they haven't been replaced by guys who are of that caliber. Even though those guys weren't super high level as it was. And then the obvious question about Deshaun, if he's even going to play. So if this was a 4-win team with Deshaun having the best season of his career, and now you've got no Deshaun and what looks like, at least at the top half, a more diluted roster, although I do think they have made some improvements to the back end of the roster, it's just I can't picture them winning more games this year than they did a year ago.
No Will Fuller, no J.J. Watt, no Deshaun Watson. I broke down the schedule this morning, and I had him going 16-1. But I may be a little optimistic. I'm not sure that they will be 16-1. I don't know how I did it, but I found a loss in the schedule.
It was at Buffalo?
So no, they lost at San Francisco because it was a game that didn't matter. They already had home field advantage at the end of the year. So that's the only loss I could find on the schedule. I do think they might surprise. And listen, they are an underdog to the Jags, who had the worst record in the NFL. Now, they did add Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, in week 1, they play the worst team, the team that was worse than they were last year. However, they did add Trevor Lawrence, while the Texans added nothing because they gave away their draft pick. Do you foresee the Texans being a favorite in any game this year?
It would take them winning a few games that we don't expect them to in a row, and then that schedule lining up with, now they're home to the Jets. Then maybe there's a chance there. I think that Jets game is really the only possibility of one that I could see them being favored. Or if something were to happen to Trevor Lawrence before the season starts, I think that line could move. But I think the rest of those teams on the schedule, there's really not a situation where I could foresee the Texans being favored.
Well, if the Panthers start slowly, maybe, Sam Darnold isn't as good as they thought, and he's really struggling, whatever the case may be. Because if you're not favored at home against the Jags, would you be favored on the road against the Jags? Depending on how the Jags are playing, obviously. Maybe when you go to the Jags, you might be favored there. Otherwise, there's nobody. There's nothing.
I mean, this is what we've got to get used to. This is a bad football team. This is a team that is going to get fairly disrespected. And it's absolutely warranted that this team is being disrespected by Vegas and by the rest of the league.
So, AJ, give me your win-loss projection for this team.
I'll be Mr. Bleak and I'll go 3-14. I agree. I don't think they're going to be favored in any games, but I think even the worst teams win a couple games along the way. I think that's what the Texans will do. I think that's a season I'm assuming Deshaun Watson will miss. So I'm going to go 3-14 as a Mr. Downside. I'll let you have your 16-1.
Well, I predicted 16-1 on the radio show, but this is different. So I'm going to go fewer wins here, and I'm going to go 5-12. But they're going to hit the over on the 4.5. So I predicted over a 4.5 with my 16-1, and I'm predicting over again with my 5-12 prediction here. At what point does Davis Mills start?
That's an interesting question. I mean, if there's any sort of success that they're having with Tyrod, I think they'll try and keep him out there. But it's also a two-sided blade, because if they're not having any success, if they start out 0-7 and you throw Davis Mills out there, are you not putting him into sort of a can't-win situation, much like they did with David Carr years and years ago? I don't think you want to ruin Davis Mills before he has a chance to do anything, but I think that it is a priority that they see at some point this year what they've got in that kid. Otherwise, it's a wasted draft pick, because if you do go 2-15 and you've got the first pick next year, you almost have to take a quarterback at that point, and you will have never known what you got with Davis Mills. So I don't know how many. I guess I'd set the over-under at probably about 4.5 games. And if they do see him, I mean, it's probably because they've decided that A, either Tyrod got hurt, or B, that the season is just a laughing stock anyway, and they probably want to improve their draft stock.
Oh, I'm going to go with week 11, because week 9 they play. They'll have 1 or 2 wins, and then they get the bye week, and you give him a couple of weeks.
Who's
to
that
start.
first opponent after the bye week?
Week 11 is Tennessee.
Okay.
At Tennessee. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter, does it?
Probably
then
not.
The Jets are after that. But you do want to give them a couple. Normally, that's when you will put that rookie in there. And it's long enough where he's been around long enough. He knows the playbook well enough. He'll be, you've got 9 full weeks. Plus, don't some of Tyrod Taylor's incentives start kicking in if he continues to start?
Yeah.
So maybe after week 9, you go, well, that's enough. We don't want to pay him $12 million when we're 2-7. So let's get Davis Mills in here right away, so Tyrod doesn't hit any of his incentives, and we can save a little bit of money. So
plus that would really make the Texans look better to free agents and stuff like that. Like their image right now is sterling. You want to keep that.
Yeah, you definitely want to screw Tyrod out of all the money you possibly can, so that everybody in the league looks at you and says, "Can't wait to get there."